What up? This is Rama Screen, and in the anticipation of Dara of Jasenovac, which is Serbia's official Oscar submission for Best International Feature, and it will open in select theaters February 5. I'm here talking with film historian Dr. Michael Berenbaum, who has served as a consultant for more than 24 films in multiple languages. How are you, Dr. Berenbaum?
I am well. Let me correct one thing, if we
Okay.
would. I'm not a film historian. I'm a historian who advises on film.
There you go. Thank you for clarifying. So you are a history consultant for this project. Is that
That's
correct?
right. That's right.
And so, congrats on the film. I watched it recently. It was powerful, and I think everybody should see it. And yesterday we commemorate the Holocaust Remembrance Day. So, Dr. Berenbaum, let me start with the obvious question. Most people generally know about or have heard of Auschwitz or Dachau, but most of us probably don't know much about Ustash's genocide crimes at Yasinovac. Why is that? Why is this not as more known or more as have heard of as it should be?
I'll give you the short answer. It is sui generis. It's a camp unlike any of the other camps. The reason is that the death camps that we know of, the concentration camp that we know of, are Nazi camps that were established throughout Europe, throughout Eastern Europe. They fit a pattern. The Nazis rounded up the Jews. The Nazis transported the Jews. They then murdered the Jews in 6 death camps. This is the one death camp that was established not by the Germans, but by the Croatian Ustaša regime. Mm-hmm. And it was established in part by the inspiration of what Germany was doing. And the inspiration was, you can create a death camp and get rid of populations that you don't want in your midst. It served the purpose of the German regime, who was allied with Croatia, and that was to get rid of the Jews, what we call the final solution to the Jewish problem. And it also, once they were at it, they decided also to eliminate the Serbians as part of it. So the victims of this were Jews, Serbs, and Roma and Sinti, whom we call normally negatively gypsies. But it doesn't fit the general pattern. And you also have to remember that for many years, Yugoslavia was under the Tito regime, and therefore they didn't want it. It's multiple states, many states in a federation under the domination of a charismatic leader, and they didn't want to exacerbate tension between rival nations living in one country. So consequently, they de-emphasized that. They didn't tell the story. And this is literally the first feature film that tells the story of Yasinovac, a little known story, except to people in the Balkans.
When making a historical-based movie such as this, sometimes filmmakers would take creative license, creative liberties to serve the story on the script. So where do you strike a balance between that and historical accuracy? As a consultant on this project, do you step in whenever the production on the filming got certain things wrong? How does that work?
You give, first of all, you set a standard. I say I ordinarily am only invited to participate in by directors, especially of features, by directors who are interested in doing a serious job and who are respectful, often deeply respectful of the history itself. My advice to everyone on that is, these events are so dramatic, you don't have to add the drama, you merely have to let the drama speak forth. So minimize your sense of wanting to over-dramatize the event and let the drama of the story itself come forth. In this case, we have a 10-year-old girl whose father has disappeared. She doesn't know that he is alive, whose mother and older brother are killed, who is then responsible for herself and an infant brother in a children's camp as part of the Yasinovac camp complex. That's a hell of a dramatic story. How does a 10-year-old grapple with this? And what I liked about the work of the director, Gaga Antonovich, was that Gaga tried to base everything, the small parts of the story, on what actually happened. Let me give you one example. There's a scene in the movie that you remember of the woman who refuses to go to be coerced as slave labor into Germany and leave her son behind. The woman who played that role was the granddaughter of the actual woman who was killed when she didn't leave her son behind. So she wasn't playing a role as a part. She was playing her narrative, her grandmother, and the power of her stepping into those shoes gave rise to 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes of genuine power in her performance. And she insisted on playing that role. She could have had a larger role, but that was the role that she wanted to play for reasons we well understand.
Wow, that's powerful. Really, I could not recommend this movie enough. But as a journalist, Dr. Berenbaum, I have to ask you this. I have to ask for your response on this, because the reviews came out this week, and film critic Jay Weisberg from Variety has criticized Dara of Jasenovac. He said, and I quote, "It's unconcealed anti-Croatian, anti-Catholic nativism designed for current rifts between Serbia and its neighbors." What's your reaction to that?
Let me give a couple of reactions. He begins with a peculiar claim, which is that he asked for an open and honest discussion as to why so many Holocaust films are being made. And then he speaks of a Holocaust industry. So he doesn't understand that the very power of the story of the Holocaust is because it's a story of life and death. It's a story in which the characters involved, the human beings involved, face life and death situation, not once or twice in their life, but literally once a day, twice a day, many times a day, and the like. This is a film, and he left out the fact that it presents what we call in history the gray zone. The gray zone is when people are neither fully good or fully bad. You have good people in this movie who do terrible things. You have terrible people who are awful and evil, seemingly without a conscience, who have a moment in which they express compassion, in which they do something decent, or even a moment at which they revolt against the evil around them. So yes, it is against the Ustasha regime that happened to be Roman Catholic, that happened to use nuns as the means, one of the ways of re-education. And if it's against the Croatians, it's not against the Croatians, against the evil the Croatians did. And again, we don't describe Holocaust films as being anti-German. They are anti-Nazi. And consequently, I think he lost the whole thing. He also lost the fact that there are Croatians that are depicted in very, very powerful roles as rescuers.
Yes.
So he missed the whole story. And I also disregarded, I had to dismiss what he was doing on some of that, because I've worked on many films. I've advised on many more films. And when I advise on these films, I have never seen people, Ed, I'll have to call you back, I'm on the line. I've never seen people do it for craven monetary reasons. I've seen lots of people who didn't want to lose their shirt on the Holocaust film, but I've never seen anybody. I think the power of the event calls forth from the filmmaker a desire to do something significant, substantive, and worthy, respectful of the victims and respectful of the historical event that he's grappling with.
Final question, sir. As an American, it disheartens me when I see the rise of far-right groups, neo-Nazis, Proud Boys, attacking our capital a few weeks ago because they believe that this country only belongs to them. Um, and some people ask for unity and healing, but I'm against, uniting with hatred. There's no uniting with those kinds of mindsets. But what's your take on all of that? Are there ways to change hearts and minds, or are they too far gone?
We are living through very difficult times in the United States of America.
Hmm.
And we have just had a flirtation with an authoritarian regime.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back to leadership of the country has a choice, which is you can achieve power. And let me put it historically. Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Adolf Hitler came to power 32 days apart. They came with identical political conditions, 25% unemployment, a 40% decline in gross national product. One leader turned the nation one toward another. The other leader changed the nation one against the other.
Hmm.
And the result is that the United States healed and Germany ripped itself apart, entered into a war, was destroyed and decimated. And we have a choice. So I think we have to essentially stand against the evil, and we have to unite those forces for good in our society. I think we have to be against the polarization. And if that means that we have to tone down a little bit in the way in which we address the other, I think a little bit of quiet, a little bit of tranquility is an absolute necessity. And the tragedy of this moment, the irony of this moment is this is not a moment to divide, it's a moment to unite. My health depends on your responsibility. Your health depends on my responsibility. If I wear a mask, I am protecting me and you. If you wear a mask, you are protecting me and you. We can't get out of the economic morass unless we also what? Solve the health crisis. I have to take a shot, you have to take a shot. The science has to be trusted. The scientists can't lie to us. The vaccine has to work. We have to distribute it uniformly throughout the population in a manner that is fair, in a manner that is respectful. And therefore, we're all in this together. And the idea of polarization, also the greatness of America has been the fact that out of many, it became one. You come from Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents brought my parents here as infant from Poland and Russia. I was born in America, but my parents not left. My grandparents would have been killed in the Holocaust. My parents would have been killed in the Holocaust. I never would have been born. So I have a gratitude to America. And nobody was more patriotic than my grandparents, who understood the blessing of freedom that was and must be the United States of America.
All right. That's all the time we have. Dr. Michael Berenbaum, thank you so much. What an honor. Thank you for talking to me, sir. And congratulations on the film. Thank you.
You're welcome.